Hey guys, Money with Yumi here, where I talk about anything and everything related to money and how to grow your wealth. And today I want to talk about something that most people know about, but it's not quite discussed or talked about yet in Singapore, and that is about inflation. Remember Game of Thrones? Winter is coming? This is inflation is coming, but oh wait, no. Inflation is already here. Alright, so let's get right into it. What is inflation? Well, in layman's terms, inflation is the decline of purchasing power in a given currency over time. What that means is, as the price of goods increase, your money will be worth less. So let's use chicken rice as an example. In the 1990s, you can get a plate of chicken rice for $1, and in 2000 it was $2, and in 2010 it was $3. Now it's about $4 to $6 depending on where you get your chicken rice from. So let's say you have $10, you would be able to get 10 plates of chicken rice in the 1990s, but right now you can only get about like 2.5 plates of chicken rice. So when prices increase due to inflation, your purchasing power decreases. And there are three main types of inflation: demand pull, cost push, and built-in. With demand pull, this is basically like supply and demand. Let's say there's a limited supply of chicken and stalls have half the supply they normally get, then prices are probably going to double. You will see this commonly with durian prices. If Malaysia has an oversupply of durians, the prices are going to be low. But if they have a durian shortage, then the prices are going to be more expensive. Cost push inflation is when production costs increase prices. So in our chicken rice example, let's say cucumbers cost more, chili costs more, chicken costs more, and rice costs more, then there's a high probability that the chicken rice sellers are going to increase their prices. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective for them to absorb these costs. And built-in inflation is when everything increases and your salary has to increase in order to meet basic necessities. But we all know that salary increments tend to lag behind inflation, and right now the world is experiencing some sort of significantly higher than normal inflation rates. My grocery bills have gone up 30 to 40% even though I'm purchasing the same items, the same quantity. Petrol prices are increasing, electricity bills are rising, and sometimes it might not even be a price increase but a size reduction to keep the cost the same and the profits the same. Like when I went to Korean barbecue, the meat quantity was reduced but the cost stayed the same. And if you're unaware of like subtle changes like that, then yeah, you wouldn't be able to feel the pinch and see what the business is doing to cope with inflation. And you have to know that inflation is normal and inevitable, and having a small amount of it is good to stimulate the economy, but having too much of it, yeah, that's going to be a problem. And I have to say that Singapore has been making a good effort trying to keep inflation rates relatively low in Singapore, unlike other parts of the world like in the US where inflation is going crazy. Ever since the coconut pandemic happened, countries like China and the US have been printing money like crazy. You know, China and the US are the top two countries which Singapore imports the most from, so if the costs in those countries go up, naturally the cost in Singapore is going to go up as well. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the world is also experiencing some supply chain issue since the start of the coconut pandemic, and a lot of businesses thought it was going to improve, right? But no, it got worse this year. There is a global shipping container shortage. There are too many people wanting to get products into their country out of the country, but there are not enough ships, so everything is getting backlogged right now. So basically it boils down to supply and demand again, right? Who can pay the highest for this container? Shipping an entire container load from China to LA used to cost me $5,000 before the coconut pandemic, and ever since the pandemic started, the cost increased from $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000, and now it's about $15,000 to $20,000 to ship a container load from China to LA. That's about 3 times to 4 times of what I paid before, which is insane. And if the cost of doing business have increased by that much, most, if not all of that cost is then gonna go to the consumer, right? And in my personal experience, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, is just a guideline. The actual rates tend to be higher than it is. If you look at historical inflation rates, Singapore averages an inflation of about 2% a year. And at this rate, in 30 years, a plate of chicken rice will cost about $7 to $8. I personally think it will be more than $7 to $8, But who knows, right? We'll see. So guys, this is why if you're just saving money and not investing your money, you're actually losing money. Because putting your money into a bank that pays maybe a 0.4% interest rate a year means you're losing at least 0.6% to 1.6% every single year, depending on what the inflation rate for that year is. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this. Banks in Singapore have all lowered their savings account interest rate since COVID-19. And look at this interest rate. BOC Smart Saver 0.7%, DBS Multiplier Account 0.4%. UOB One Account 0.5%, Standard Chartered Bonus Saver 0.31%, and OCBC 360 Account 0.45%. They are all so pathetic. I wouldn't even put my money with them. So you think your money is safe in the bank? Think again. The only way to beat inflation is to own assets that will appreciate over time. And some of the assets that can hedge against inflation are like stocks, real estate, cryptocurrency, art, antiques, commodities like gold and silver, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, so on and so forth. Personally, my favorite asset to hedge against inflation is real estate. And I'm not talking about investing in real estate in Singapore, but in overseas market like in the US and the UK, where the numbers make so much more sense. And this is gonna blow some of your minds, but if your money is losing value due to inflation, then your debt is losing value as well. Let me repeat that. If your money is losing its value to inflation, then your debt is losing its value as well. And if you have never thought about it that way, please destroy the like button because you just learned something new. Any good debt under 2 to 3% is considered free money because it's keeping up with inflation. And with real estate, you make use of leverage, borrowing other people's money, and in most cases, the banks, to grow your wealth, which you can't do with stocks unless you're trading with margins, which I wouldn't suggest anyone to do that unless you know what you're doing, right? And because if you get margin calls and you can put more money down, then you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. And if you want to beat inflation, start investing in assets that can beat inflation. Don't just put your money in the bank. Have you heard people saying like, okay, when I have more money, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So when are you gonna have more money? Right? Stop giving yourself excuses, because the truth is, when you make more money, you're gonna want nicer things, right? A nicer car, a nicer house, nicer food, nicer watch, nicer bag, and nicer everything, you name it. And it's okay to want nicer things as long as you can afford it. First step for most people is to budget, live a minimal lifestyle so you have more money to invest each month. Figure out where you can cut your expenses, and if you realize you don't have enough money to invest, then it's time to get a second job or a side hustle. Right? Money is not going to drop from the sky. The sooner you come to terms with that, the better. Right? Don't sit at home dreaming about your next bonus, your next promotion, or getting a higher paying job when you're not making the effort to get more. Right? You need to make sacrifices and ignore the haters. Do Grab food delivery over the weekends or something, right? Do anything that allows you to work flexible hours for extra cash. And some people might look down on you or laugh at you for getting a second job, but you're gonna have the last laugh because you're gonna have more money than those haters in the future. And remember, it's not about where you start, but how you finish. So please be cognizant about what you're spending now. Do you want to work like how you're working right now for the rest of your lives, working for every single dollar? You definitely want to start thinking about how to generate passive income so you can be financially free, right? Make some FU money, and that's usually achieved through investments. Make your money work for you. Ever since I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was like 10 years old, that changed my perspective on money. And really guys, building wealth is all about having that right mindset first. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you did, please destroy the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell icon so you get notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you again next time.